Hello and welcome to another screencast tutorial for Scratch for TazMcCarthy.com. This time on making sports games. I've got a fairly simple game that I finished here and I'll talk you through the steps that I used to make it. First thing I've got are two characters, two different sprites, and they're both set up to use direction keys, left, up, down, right to move around the screen. So it's set up for two players. You can see that as I press those, I can move around the screen. Player 1 on the left hand side is set up for the left hand side of the keyboard with A, W, S and D to move around. Our ball is where most of the scripting goes. For our ball, when the game starts, it sends out a broadcast go, and that broadcast go goes to a lot of different characters. For our two players, when it receives that broadcast, it puts them back. You see, if I move it and then hit green, it puts them back in the starting position, and the ball as well. And it makes sure they're facing the right way, in the right place, in the right costume. It also sends the ball back to the right place, just like that. You can see I've got two variables that I've set up, player 1 and player 2, and that's for the scoring. They're on the stage. When the green flag is clicked, it resets both of those to 0. Okay, back to our ball. We've got two main scripts here. One is that when a player is near the ball, it will dribble. How I did that is to have two different costumes where the ball is in a slightly different spot, and you can see it's just switching back over and over between them. So after the game starts, check this forever. If the ball is touching either player 1 or player 2, our two sprites here, switch to the bouncing one, wait a sec, switch back, wait a sec, and that will repeat over and over and over. Here I've used an if or else. So if it's touching them, to do the bouncing back and forth, else, so if it's not touching them, it just switches back to the original ball, and that's it. It'll just sit there not moving. The other script we have is that once it receives go, which happens when the game starts, after a second it's going to check over and over and over forever. It's going to wait until player 2 touches it, and then repeat until player 1 touches them, to go to player 2, and that's a little bit hard to understand with words, so I'll show you an example. You can see that the white line is around our scripts here to tell us that it's active at the moment. So it's received go, and this is active with the white around it. As I move this player, it's checking this over and over. It's waiting until it touches player 2, which is the one I'm controlling. So as soon as I touch player 2, it moves on to the next bit, and it's going to repeat the ball going to player 2, which means wherever I go, the ball will follow that character. Now it repeats it until player 1 touches the ball. Now that he's touched it, it no longer goes to him, it goes to this player, because I've set up an identical script, except I've swapped around the player 1s and 2s, so the script set up for each player that does the same thing. So what you've got, I'll try and play it with two hands here, but as your players move around, as soon as one of them touches it, they lose the ball and it goes to the next player. So I suppose that's like a simple type of game where one player is running around trying to avoid the other one, and the other one's trying to run into them to get the ball. So these two scripts here, even though they're both very short, they control that. The only other thing that's set up for this game to work, to actually score points, you'll notice that on my background for the court I've painted these slightly different colours for each area. So I'll reset it. And under each player we've got an extra key. So it's G for the player on the left, and I think it's M for the player on the right. And these use color detection, which is one of the really nice things built into Scratch. So for our player on the left, if we press the G key, if it's touching that color, which means it's in this area, and it's touching the ball at the same time. So if you've got the ball and you're in this area, it'll glide up to above the ring and then down. And if the ball is still in your hands, and just in case the opponent touches it and steals it, it plays a sound and adds a score. Otherwise, if you go for the dunk and you don't have the ball, it plays a different sound. So I'll give you an example of how that works now. So I'll move him out of the way. So if I press G now, nothing's going to happen. You can see it highlights to check it, but this if, it's not touching the colour and the ball at the same time. As soon as I come into here, this should now work. What happened was it checked if it was touching that colour and if I was touching the ball, and both of those were true. So it did the gliding animation up to the top and back down. I still had the ball, so it gave me 1 point. I'll show you for the other player what happens if you don't have the ball, the else. I run across, I get the ball, it starts dribbling. I'm in this square, so I can press M to make him jump, but see I don't have the ball, so I don't get a point for player 2, and it plays a different sound effect. So just by using this, you've got a very simple game where you can run around with the ball, try and steal it off each other, outfox the other player, and score the points. One scenario we haven't tested, now that he has the ball, if I press the M key, it's touching the colour, but it's not also touching the ball, so we won't even try to jump. So it says and, both of these have to be satisfied. You get the ands and ors and any maths ones under the green, under the operators, and they're really handy for that type of thing. To make this game more complicated, you could add another variable for a timer and have the timer run down and at the end tell you who scored the most points. You could add extra sounds. I found these ones on the internet and then I went to sounds, import, and went to where they were. I saved them on the desktop. You also might like to try and program one of these plays to be like a computer player where it follows you around, tries to steal the ball and then tries to make it over here. But that would be a lot harder, a good challenge for those that were really confident with the game.